At least we'll convince ourselves that they enjoy that banter that we have back and forth.
Oh, they do, Will. They
They
love
do.
it.
They say they don't, but they're just playing hard to get, is what it is.
So last week you were asking me how did it go up there and training these feds in New Jersey, and one of them came up to me on the break, and of course this is like on Thursday or Friday, so it's been gun centric all week. And one of them walked up to me, who's a former Army Ranger. Shout out to you, brother, if you're listening. He goes, Rich, you talk a lot about financial independence and this and that. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at the ground like, what are you talking about? I haven't talked about financial independence this week. He's like,
was that right between trigger control and recoil control, financial independence?
Yes,
is that where
that's where.
Okay, that's where I would have put it too. I mean, that makes perfect sense right there.
He goes, no, on your show. I'm like, we listen to the show. Yeah, man. Like, again, first I've heard of this, but yeah, so he's been listening, Will, and
Awesome.
he says to us, and he's like, put a lot of it into practice, and this is what we're doing. I'm like, hell yeah.
Him. Yeah.
But it's a good thing. People are listening, Will. That's where I'm going.
That's good. Can we get our families to listen to us about, they'll listen.
They'll listen to Oprah. They'll listen to TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. But, nah.
That's a shame.
It's funny though. I have to admit, it's funny as life cycles. You can go from your child to being an adult to being a parent, and the one thing I've realized is the older I get, the smarter my dad was. Like,
I'm glad you feel that
that's way. What he meant. Oh,
yeah. I don't have that. I've mentioned it on the show. Yeah, I don't. I didn't have that, so I can't relate. Michael Gentili's on. I bet you he can relate. His father was a great man from all accounts. So glad to have you on, Michael. Thank you to the 7 folks watching live. But yeah, otherwise it was a great week, and learning occurred, and
awesome.
Here we are, back safe back in America, brother.
Yeah, back from occupied East Coast land.
Let's talk about that real quick. I took a picture. I meant to send it to you and Dr. Fuller. I've been helping one of the agents. We were shooting the carbine, and I ended up with some of his live ammo, right? And the agents are shooting an OTM round, so it's open top match. It's hollow point, which are banned in New Jersey. So I'm catching them up. Or however they ended up in my freaking pocket. I've got 4 rounds, and I'm walking to the car, getting in our rental car, and I sit down, and oh shit, So, and I took a picture of it and took them back in the office and gave them to one of the agents. And so here's the problem with that. Because they have mandatory minimum sentencing, it's like, you're going to do 10 years. It doesn't matter. The Department of Justice come in there and go, look, we hired, these guys. Here's what they're doing. This is how it happened. Yeah, I hear you, and I appreciate everything you have to say. And it breaks my heart to do this. And then the gavel hits and goes 10 years in a New Jersey state prison. There's no room for like understanding and appreciating the context of what's going on. It's just, did you have them? Yes or no? Were you on a public roadway? Oh shit. Yeah, you were. Bye-bye. So that's intolerable. You can't have a society like that. My thoughts.
And so I agree with you, but then I also look at, say, New York City. I just read an article. A guy got brought in on a psych hold, went to the psych hospital, got released immediately. This was after assaulting someone.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
And then within a few hours, pushes an elderly gentleman onto a subway track and kills him. So you get the one side you just described, the fear you had, rightfully so. I would have had the same fear. And then the people who don't care, nothing happens to them.
Yeah, and did you?
So they'll use discretion in those cases, but not you, not me.
100%. It's like, no, I've always been, man. When I got in trouble once in 7th grade, I never got spanked until 7th grade, and it was like, well, Rich, you're such a model student. We got to make an example out of you, because if you're doing this kind of stuff, then this will send a message. I'm like, what? He didn't send a message to these other effing clowns that are doing crap, but when Rich Brown gets in trouble, now we, wow.
Yeah.
And that incident you're discussing there, the African-American male who pushed that old retired teacher to his death, he had pushed a 23-year-old woman down. Did you see that?
Well, say that again now. I'm sorry. I was reading Alan Kelly's comment at the same time. And
Oh, gotcha.
the big words were slowing me down.
Before he, I heard that about you, pilots.
Yeah.
So before he pushed that woman to her, the retired teacher to his death down a subway stairs, he had pushed a woman, I think in February or March, 23-year-old woman down similar set of circumstances. She obviously survived, but she said she didn't want to press charges because she, quote, did not want to send another young black man to prison. And now she feels responsible for his death. That is correct, by the way. You should feel responsible. I would say this to the same thing. My sister was assaulted, not a sexual assault, but an assault by a guy she was dating when I was a police officer. And I took her to the magistrate. We swore out a warrant. The next morning on my day off, I executed that warrant and cuffed him up at his place of work and drug his ass off and threw him in a paddy wagon. And then she wouldn't prosecute him. And I'm like, every woman he batters after this is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the moral courage to get up there on that stand and look this piece of trash in the eye and go, he pulled a knife on me. He could have killed me. I was in fear for my life, et cetera, et cetera. Let him do 6 years or he'll probably be out too. But my point is, it's an easy conviction because there's cameras everywhere. It was caught on camera, He's in a public space. It's on you, man.
Yep.
No, it's not on me. No, it is on you.
It is, yes. If you go there and do that and the judge lets him off, then it's on the judge.
That's right.
Right? But everybody has to do their part to make this system work. And that's what I'm so sick of is, everybody's happy to throw the book at, fill in the blank group, whatever it is. But then, oh, no, it's that group. No, we can't do that. They are oppressed, but I don't want to oppress them more. Whatever it is. No, that is the definition of racism, right? Looking at a person's race and then making decisions based on that.
That's right.
I believe Dr. King taught us a little something about character.
Content of a man's character. That's exactly right.
So, yeah. What's Alan Kelly say back up there?
Oh, let's see here. Alan says, good morning, gents. Coin number 1571 from triple occupied Virginia. The latest rumor in Virginia about packing the court in Virginia over the referendum cannot happen. Too late in the game, and Board of Elections have spoken. We are nearly the 30 days for the government's action. We'll post update in Coin members group. Greatly appreciate it, man. We got a lot of folks on.
I threw something up there. I ran across it. I don't know if you're referring to what I posted, and he's way more knowledgeable on the Virginia stuff than I am. But there was so the Virginia Democrats lost their redistricting fight in the state Supreme Court. So now there's, I guess I'll say, rumors that they want to change the mandatory retirement age for the Virginia State Supreme Court justices. I believe it was 74 or 73 now, down to 50 something, to drive some retirements so that while the current governor is in office and the Democrats control the legislature, they can push through and essentially pack the court through turnover. So I don't know if you saw that post or not, Alan, but if you can speak to that, that'd be great.
Are you tracking was it Ken Griffin or Ken Griffey or whoever he is in charge of Capitol? That's
Citadel guy, Ken Griffin. Yeah.
Mandani filmed right outside his house. Hey, I said we're coming after you.
Yep.
We're coming after you. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, what are you doing? Me and my employees have given $635 million to this city. I got $2.5 billion invested in infrastructure and this and that here, and we're paying taxes on all of it. And my good friend, the CEO of United Healthcare, was killed and taken away from his family 2 blocks from my house. And you're using my house as a prop for your. It's unconscionable that a political leader would do this kind of thing. He's like, I've never had anything against Mandani. Now I'm going to fucking Miami. I'm like, well, no, you should go to Miami.
Yep. They moved their offices from Chicago to Miami for security stuff. Did I send you and Dr. Fuller a video about that with King Griffin? I thought I did.
Think so.
I watched it because you're parodying what was in that video, so I couldn't remember if I sent it.
Maybe I did, because I did see it somewhere this week.
It's like almost a 30-minute interview with him. Well worth the time.
It's heartbreaking.
Ken Griffin's
what have I done wrong to you, man? I've contributed everything I can. Why are you doing this to me?
On a side note, they mentioned it as kind of a throwaway comment in the interview, but Ken Griffin just bought his second copy of the original Constitution.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't even want to know what that ran him, but he's got the
Mm,
money. So he runs Citadel, one of the biggest hedge funds out there. Incredibly successful man. Was based in Chicago, headquartered in Chicago. They left because of security and taxes. Went to
mm,
Miami, and obviously still in that business. Have a big footprint in New York City until Madami did the video you described outside of his home, and now anybody who hates somebody who's rich knows exactly where he lives. And he was like, "Okay, the we just," he said, "we just pulled a permit to add, what was it, like 100,000, 200,000 square feet to their new headquarter building in Miami." He's like, "We'll just pull people down there."
yeah, easy day.
And all those high income earners that New York City's now dependent on, like we saw with the governor of New York, Horchel, I think is how you pronounce her name. Um, saying the first thing we do is you need to go down to West Palm Beach and get your friends to come back because they lost their tax base because they're like, "Fine, you hate us, we're leaving."
Mhm. Well, remember the governor of, I mean, we haven't even touched the show this morning, and we already
Yeah.
got 21 folks watching us, but, uh, who was it? The governor of New York that was like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she got in there like,
yeah,
hey, leave. You don't have
yeah.
New York values.
Mm-hmm.
Get the hell out
Yeah.
of here. Like, and
Yeah.
everybody did.
Now she's begging for him to come back because suddenly they got no
Nobody's going
tax
to blue
base.
states, man. They're leaving.
New York City, I think the state is like the top 1% of income earners pay something like 47% of the city taxes in New York City. It's like, yeah, you run a few of them off. You just hit your tax base really hard. And then who is there left to tax? The regular
That's right.
people.
Yeah.
You know,
Not last Friday, Friday before last, I interviewed a gentleman who's retired New York City police detective. And he's like, I might have been born in New York City and my whole family's in New York. I will not die in New York City. Basically, he was like, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Just as soon as I can make my move, I'm gone.
Yep.
But he respect the guy, and I'm gonna have him back on the show. Good people, but we talk about this, that if you're inside the bottle, you can't read the label. So one of the things he was saying, Will, if I could share, I don't know if you saw this, I don't know if you saw the episode.
No, I haven't. I saw the thumbnail for it. I haven't shared to watch it, but I really like that. You can't read the label from inside the bottle, and I gotta follow on when you're done.
Yeah, and he said, we can't have national reciprocity. I'm like, why not? Like, well, then people could go to, I mean, even if we're trying to lock it down here in New York City, people could go to Vermont and take the test, and then they could come back down here and carry a gun. Take the test, get fingerprinted, get an entire, single scope background investigation done on them and everything, make sure they're legit and give them a card and let them, test their ability to fire the weapon and load and handle the weapon safely, then come down and carry. Well, yeah. I mean, it was basically the conversation. I'm like, time out, man. Pookie and Ray Ray, who you're worried about carrying in New York City, they don't give a shit. They're not going to Vermont. They're going to carry anyway. They don't care about your law. The only people that are going to do that is people like me and my friends and your friends, whatever the gentleman's name was. We're going to follow the law. We're going to carry, and you want those people carrying in your community. Trust me. You know what I mean?
Yep. Right, absolutely. I mean, you think those guys are worried when you found those 4 rounds in your pocket and you had to figure out what to do with those? You think those guys would have even thought about that? No.
Hell no.
Heck no. They would see that as a win.
Yeah, prison's what they do, man.
Yeah.
You were saying absolutely. You had something to dovetail on that.
Yeah, so following news, politics, all that stuff, right? I've got family in California, and I asked me, we think relatively the same. What, how does this work in California? And relative, he said, when you're there, and in his case, born and raised there, it's normal.
Yep.
Because you don't know any different, right? And I think it's something to keep in mind is we see people immigrate to the U.S. and they bring a culture with them, good, bad, whatever it is, however we deem that to be, whatever our opinion of that is, they don't know any different, right? And they need to change if it's against American values. I'm not saying to let them do whatever they want, but I'm saying that we do need to have that time to go, okay, this is how we do things. No different than if you start a new job someplace. They're going to be like, Rich, this is how we do things at this place, whether it be a police department or whatever it is, right? there's a orientation period, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah,
That's a great point, man. You come here in Tennessee, not a problem. After 3 years, you can start voting or something like that. And like, oh, that's disenfranchisement. That's not a problem. Stay where the hell you are.
yeah,
Because when you come here, you need it. There's an acclimatization period of, wait a minute, I feel this is different down here. No, no shit. You know,
yeah.
thing is
Well,
are
and
different.
so there's an interesting point there. I never thought about that. You move someplace, can't vote, say in state elections there, or whatever it is. You can't vote for there for a period of time.
Yeah.
So you
vote for president. I don't care.
right.
But
you obviously would have voted
you,
anyway, right? But that's an interesting concept. Wait till you understand how things work. You know, when you start someplace, say you start a new police department, you get to walk in and tell the chief what to do.
yeah.
Or you got to earn your stripes first, literally.
We had a brand new master sergeant who checked into the School of Infantry who knew nothing about demolitions. And I was the guy that taught demo. And he comes out to the range one day and he's like, oh, time out. Everybody stop. You know, like the instructors come over here, you know. And so we put the students on a break. And I'm like, yes, Master Sergeant, what's up? He's like, I don't know. This just doesn't feel right. I don't, you know. And I'm like, this is deck cord and this is time fuse. Do you know the difference? They're both green. Can you tell the difference? I mean, I was insubordinate as hell. But well, no, but I just doesn't feel. I'm like, oh, you don't have a clue. And these are the kind of people that are making decisions. You know, I've put through 27 classes here. We're acting in accordance with standard protocols, range protocols. All safety measures are followed. There's the wet bulb over there. We've got the dock over here. We've got the safety vehicles there. What are you talking about? You know, so don't step into the mud puddle and start stomping till you know what's going on.
Yeah. And to me, a good leader would be like, okay, listen, guys. Yeah, I got rank, whatever. You guys know more about this than I do. This doesn't feel right to me. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's how, in my opinion, that's how a leader would handle it. Admit that your subordinates actually know more than you. Yeah, I'm the one signing for it, but you know more than me. Get me up to speed here.
The funny thing is, obviously, we had signed for it. He didn't need to be there. I mean, he just came in there and decided I got rank and I'm going to pause everything for a minute and we got it running again. But my point is, it's like if you don't, like, it'd be like me coming into a cockpit of your aircraft. I don't know, Will. It doesn't feel right to me. 15-degree flaps. Nah, I don't know about that.
I'm perfectly okay with going home with pay. The keys are in it. Take it. I'm done.
Exactly.
See you around. Y'all
they
have
got
fun.
Keys? Wow, I didn't know that.
Although we do sometimes send new flight attendants for the keys.
I bet.
Yeah, they get angry at that. So
no,
which is part of the fun. So the other one back in the day, we used to have flight attendants take air samples.
Oh, really?
Brand new flight attendant be like, listen, maintenance called. They need air sample from the airplane to make sure that the systems are working properly. So en route, I need you to take 3 barf bags. One at the front of the cabin, one mid cabin, one at the back of the cabin. I need you to swing it around in a figure 8 like this and fill it up with air and then seal it up. And when we get to wherever we're going, you walk those into maintenance. You mark them forward, center, and aft. You walk them into maintenance, okay? And had one actually do it. She comes out, walks out of the maintenance area, looks up at us, flips us the bird, and walks back to the airplane.
I love it.
Welcome to the airline industry.
That's right.
Better have your thick skin. So, all right. Onward.
Fear and greed. Fear and greed. Will we always start?
Oh. Yep. 68. This is actually from April 20th, believe it or not. This one or just before that, when I ran these slides, it's still at 68, guys. It's bounced around.
Is it really?
That's why I didn't bother updating this. Yeah. It was actually, I think it's 67 this morning, but it's been 67 or 68, like 3 or 4 days in a row. I see oil's up this morning because actually it was before Trump even rejected this latest Iran thing. What we're seeing right now is that's running everything. Oil up equals market down. And I was going to touch on this later, but it's front of mind right now. Was watching an interview yesterday while I was getting a workout in, and being a precious metal guy, you might find this interesting, Rich. Somebody was opining about gold and oil, and you would think with this fear going on, gold would be going up, right?
Yep.
And that's what I would have thought too, but it's not.
It's flat.
But who's been the biggest buyers of oil over the last, I'm sorry, not oil, gold over the last year or two. The central
Central
banks, right?
banks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. And one of the biggest buyers within the central banks, Poland was number one, but within the top five is Saudi.
Oh,
Well, they're
really?
not
There you
selling
go.
oil right now, so they got to sell something to keep their society afloat. And the theory is they've been selling gold, and that's what's been suppressing the gold price.
Makes
So
sense.
I don't know if it's true or not, but if you match it up, gold, both gold and silver versus oil is almost a perfect inverse correlation since all this started, which I couldn't
Mhm.
figure out either. But and I'm not saying that has it figured out, but it sure makes sense. So yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. Um,
So
I think
I'm
where the
looking at what's a
mhm,
so I'm looking at the price of crude oil. Let's talk
mhm,
donuts here
yeah,
real quick, and it's
yeah,
looking like $97 to $99 a barrel, right?
bringing it up right
Something like that
now.
for
Yeah,
Texas Intermediate.
yeah, I'm showing 95 and a little change at the moment, but yeah,
Okay, let's use a round number like
okay,
$100. Let's say the
mhm,
oil's $100, right?
all right,
And that barrel of oil is a store of wealth. Can we agree?
mhm,
Okay.
yes,
So if gold right now is roughly $4,700 an ounce, divide
mhm,
that by 100, which would be easier for me to have an ounce of gold, right, about the size of a half
mhm,
dollar,
mhm,
or 47 55-gallon drums sitting around, when we're talking store wealth. Obviously,
mhm,
I just say that because that's kind of how I look at it. These things are a store of value. It's
mhm.
not an investment. Um, and I don't know. I would imagine oil's not perishable either.
I
It
would,
sounds like a
I
stupid
would,
point, but
yeah, I don't think it is really. I'm sure under right conditions it could be. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
anything about oil. I mean, so yeah, and to your point, I mean, how do you store oil now on a
that's why people
even
were. What happened? Will was it during the pandemic when they had people that had bought all this oil
mm,
on paper and had nothing to do with it, and they basically had lost their ass on this stuff?
yeah, there there was that, and also there was oil actually went negative for a very short period of time. That was a paper anomaly, and what it was somebody got on the wrong side of a trade, and they had to unload the paper for the oil. They had to unload the futures because they had no way to take delivery.
Yep.
And at some point, if you buy the futures, you got to take delivery of however many thousands upon hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil. And it was actually a Hong Kong hedge fund,
Mm,
and they didn't have any way to take delivery.
of
So
course
they
not.
just had to unload it in an incredibly short period of time, and so they just kept lowering the price until they got somebody to take it. And they finally paid somebody to take it.
Damn.
So it was a weird anomaly. Oil never really went negative because why would I mean, just keep it in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
But oil does have to keep flowing. This is something Iran is going to run into here pretty shortly within the next couple of weeks. If oil doesn't start flowing again, my understanding is if you don't keep oil flowing through the pumps, through everything, if you shut it off, it takes a long time to turn it back on, and it may not come back on.
True.
And one of the things that came out, I think I put it in the slides later on, or I've got an ad on deck that maybe we can do. I don't know, this show's going to go fairly long. Maybe we can do an evening show here. But a bunch of oil got dumped in the water off Karg Island.
Mm.
And one possibility for the Iranians is to take something out of Saddam's playbook when he burned all the oil wells
Mm-hmm.
during the Desert Storm. Is if Iran says, well, if we shut the oil pumps off, we're going to ruin them, which means we'll be years rebuilding this, possibly with no money, or just start dumping it into the water, and
Mm-hmm.
we're out it either way, and turn the screws on the United States that way. I mean, we'll see, but it's one possibility out there.
A moment ago you mentioned that Trump rejected Iran's latest, offer or whatever. The offer is unconditional surrender. That's the way we used to do these things. And I don't know what happened. kinder, gentler society where we like let the enemy dictate the terms of surrender? Not a chance.
Yeah.
This is part of this soft crap that we've been dealing with. Like, if we're going to go to war, let's go to war. You make them, oh, I'm done. Oh, you're done? You sure? Because I can keep going.
Yeah.
That's escalation dominance. And now we're like, well, I'm going to wait and hear what they have to say. No, I'm not. I'm going to have the Marines storm ashore on Carg Island, plant the effing flag, and now we own this. It's going to be another Diego Garcia or Guam or Okinawa or one of these islands. It's just ours now. Sorry, not sorry. You had a chance to wave the white flag and you can keep your crap, but you want to keep playing, I'm going to take it. And then you're never getting it back. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I will admit I'm a little skeptical on this whole thing. And I get the whole Iran during the Iraq war. I understand all that. I do. I just never, I look back on the whole Iran thing since 79, right? Mm-hmm. They've been 6 weeks away from a nuclear bomb for decades. And, maybe it's one of those things where you can stay 6 weeks away. I don't know anything about building a nuclear bomb. But I don't know. When Trump addressed the country from the Oval Office, I was really hoping he was going to bring the receipts, as the kids say nowadays. Yeah. And it's still just like, after I got hoodwinked by the weapons of mass destruction thing in Iraq.
I wouldn't believe the receipts if they told me, though, Will. You know what I mean? Because of that crap.
Yeah, and that's just it. I'm so skeptical now of the entire system that I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm open to have my mind changed in either direction. But I'm just so skeptical and cynical anymore. And by the way, get off my lawn. I got to get to Golden Corral for the early bird special. So.
Yeah. What is this?
I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me. So this is, I found this one interesting because I experience this regularly working on cars. This is part of CPI's motor vehicle maintenance and repair. This is from 2017 to now. That's you wish your gold chart looked that good right now in the last few months. So my point here to bring this up is this is another way consumers are getting squeezed. Everybody likes to talk about gas prices. We feel it at the pump. I put diesel in my truck, guys. I get it. Okay. But this is another part of it. And if you let me go off on a gearhead rant for a minute, these car manufacturers because of the EPA, going back to 2012 when Obama was in office, they upped the fuel mileage requirements for manufacturers. And now if I had to do over again, I probably wouldn't buy anything post about 2015, 2016. Vehicle reliability has gone down considerably because they've over-optimized for fuel mileage to meet those carb requirements. And vehicles are burning oil like we've never seen before. Because the rings, and I'm guessing you're aware of this stuff, but this is for anybody else who may not be. The rings on a piston, they go up and down the cylinder, act as a squeegee and keep the oil in the crankcase. Well, that creates friction. And to reduce that friction, they've made those tolerances very loose inside the cylinders now. And cars I can remember my old diesel truck in 2008. I used to go 10,000 miles and between oil changes, which was the recommended at the time. And regularly, I would check it. I almost never had to add oil. Now I've got a 23 with a little 3.0 Duramax in it. It goes through a quart of oil about every 2,500, 3,000 miles. And it's directly because of this. And we're not saving the environment because burning oil is more pollution than burning diesel or gas. And people who don't take care of vehicle maintenance, they're running their vehicles low on oil and trashing their motors. In which case you put in new motors ain't cheap. And so you're upping these costs, but they got to say, yay, we got these car manufacturers to increase the fuel mileage numbers, and they did. But they did it through things like this. And that's where the auto stop start thing came from. And I hate them freaking systems. Okay. but that's where it came from because it increases the overall fuel mileage on the vehicle. Well, ask Toyota about that. They're spending, I think it's well over $1 billion replacing every motor in the Tundras during a certain year range because they did not add an electric oil pump to keep running oil through the motor when it was shut down in the auto stop start. And then when the motor would restart, the upper end of the motor, the top end of the motor, was oil starved.
Ooh.
And you do that multiple times, like in city driving, you start sending pieces of metal through there, and kudos to Toyota, they're covering every single motor. But
yeah, they got a great brand.
What's the carbon footprint of making all these new motors?
Stupid, man.
It is.
Stupid.
The point is, you can only get so much energy out of a gallon of gas, a gallon of diesel, a barrel of oil. There's only so much energy there, and I'm all for being more efficient. But you take it too far, you start getting this stuff.
Yeah, Johnny King says, this is all compared to the pre-Obama policies. There's a whole lot of engine damage, which is basically what you're speaking to. Yep. Will Parker was talking about Iran. He says they have MERV capability. If you don't know what that is, that's the multiple entry vehicles. So as the thing comes over the top of the earth, it's the nuclear warhead splits into multiple vehicles and attacks multiple cities. So yeah, Iran needs their ass kicked. I agree with that. And I'm fine doing it, but let's stop, playing patty cake with these people. I'm sorry.
And over this, I see Johnny's point there, the cylinder deactivation stuff, stay away from those motors. Every single one of them is a problem child. Every single one. I don't care if it's Chevy or Ford, which Ford sucks. No, I'm kidding.
Damn, bro. What?
No, actually, I like to give Ford guys a hard time because it's easy, but I actually do. I mean, I love me a Mustang. So,
yeah.
But, so yeah, the especially sorry, Alan, I'm going to apologize up front for this. Stay away from the Dodge. I think it's the 5.7 with the cylinder deactivation. Run and hide from that motor.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll get off that rant now. So, to Alan's point, please bring that up, and then I'll get completely off this. Yep. Change oil every 5,000 miles. Don't care what the manufacturer says, because of this, because that with those rings allowing oil into the combustion chamber, it's also letting exhaust into the oil. It's wearing the oil out faster. So I don't care what the manufacturer says. 5,000 miles now. I used to go 10 on mine all the time. I go 5 now. And if you got something that's burning even more oil, I'd even bring it back down to 3.
Do you run full synthetic?
I run full synthetic. And here's another one for you. So my old diesel truck, the oil was Rotella. I mean, it was thick. It was like oil. This new stuff, you pour it in, it flows like it's already used. It's so thin, and that is again to reduce friction inside the motor. But thin oil wears out faster too. So yeah, change your oil every 5,000 miles. Period.
Yeah.
Dot end. Yep.
Back in the day, I used the engine honey where it's real thick.
Uh-huh.
That's what they called it back then. I don't know what to do with it.
Okay.
Kyle is on, says Ohio Gazamas from Japan, which means good morning. Good morning, Kyle. I have you on. Brian says, I still drive my 2008 Ford F-250 diesel. It runs great. Looks like an 18-year-old ranch truck.
Yep.
Yeah, but you can't kill it. That's God bless you for that. Johnny says turbos generate heat and share the same engine oil.
Yes, they do. Yep. So it's like I've preached to especially my boys, fluids and filters. You want an engine to last, fluids and filters. It costs a little bit of money, but rockauto.com, don't sponsor the show. Go to Rock Auto. It's way cheaper. In fact, I try to support O'Reilly when I can because they sponsor one of the NASCAR series. I did shocks and struts on my truck. And that was actually, I sent you guys a picture of that evening. I was doing that. I mean, I think I got it for like 60% of the cost of O'Reilly, exact same part number. So rockauto.com, pay for a little bit of shipping, but you save a bunch of money. So, all right. 35 minutes in, I'll get off that soapbox. All right. So this is something we're, in the last number of months since the Iran thing kicked off, we've been a little insulated as Americans to the oil price shock that much of the world has had.
Uh-huh.
Because we we produce a lot of oil now, but
Mm-hmm.
oil is, you know, pumped locally and priced globally. And even despite that, oil has gone up much more. You can look at the difference in a barrel of Brent versus a barrel of WTI, and there's a differential there. Well, now we're starting to see more of the U.S. oil being exported, and that's going to create a reduced supply here in the U.S., which I think is going to drive prices up even more at the pump. So there's your happy
Uh-huh.
moment for the day. So this is something to be aware of. Now that said, we can only export so much because the the ships, the harbors where these ships come into can only handle so much a day. So there is a limit to that. So if you start seeing, well, here's the track we're on, it's a hockey stick, all this stuff. We are limited in those ports. They can only pump so much oil per hour or per day into these tankers. So there is an operational cap there as well. And I'm not sure exactly where that is, but I would guess we're somewhere near it.
Mm-hmm.
So we do also have to remember that my note here, everything is priced on the margin. So it's whatever the last thing went for. So if we use housing as an example, if we think down your road there, Rich, where the average price of the home is like $4.5 million, but the value of your home is going to get comped against the last sale, right?
Uh-huh.
So if the last sale goes to 10 million, well, suddenly your home value went up, right?
Uh-huh.
And however, if the last one of a comparable home, let's say they were in a bad spot and they had to dump this place, and somebody like me came in who's not scared to lowball stuff and got it for $1 million, well, that's going to hit your home value. Same thing happens in the oil market. So the the take on that is it doesn't really matter what the fair value of oil is. It's whatever the last entity that had to have oil paid for it.
Uh-huh.
So what the point there is, we're going to start seeing some more volatility in this as we get the back and forth on the news, as we get the do we have a peace deal? Do we not? Does oil price start affecting economies? Which is, I don't think we're really quite there yet. Yes, there's a lot of pain at the pump. I get that. I'm not insensitive to that, but it's not affecting consumer behavior yet.
Uh-huh.
When it does, and we start seeing a reduce in demand for gas at the pump, then we're going to see even more volatility. So, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in there. What's John have to say?
John said I had to get a new motor for my 2015 Chevy 1500 because of lifter failure during V8 to V4 process. New engine was disabled.
Yep. So, what's Johnny say?
When, if ever, will the U.S. start using all these supposed oil we have under our soil? Seems like a tactical and economic good move to use our own. I said it a million times. If we could go back to September the 12th, the day after 9/11, 2001, and go, guys, just like we went to the moon and we gave ourselves 10 years to do it, we're going to give ourselves 5 years to become energy independent. And we can tell all those folks in the Middle East to kiss our American rear ends and we're off. That's what we should have done. Instead, we kind of doubled down with Saudi, who had sent the 19 people to blow our crap up. We know that now.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Saudi op. And but they're still our buddies.
Yep.
Make that make sense.
I can't.
Yeah.
No,
and here's another.
Go ahead.
No. I'm just going to say, I could go all day on that. But I think another thing we need to keep our eye on as we talk about Iran and oil and the economy is what this hantavirus thing might do to us.
Mm-hmm.
This hantavirus, you have to breathe it in with one exception. That's the Andes variant, which can pass human to human. And oh, by the way, that's what's going on right now. It's the Andes variant, which is transmittable between human to human, and it has a mortality rate, between 30 and 50%, a morbidity rate, whatever they call it. So my point of saying all that is we had COVID, and look what they did over something that had a morbidity rate of 0.001 or something very small. And they shut everything down. Talk about something that kill 30% of the people, with human to human transmission. I worry that we're going to see this freaking stuff come back, and what that would do to the economy as it teeters right now. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm. Yep. What I'm hearing is I need to order toilet paper. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I got out of that.
Get on
Hang on a
Amazon.
second. I got to jump on Amazon. Bear with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, they need to find another emergency, right? Because
there's one ready made right now.
What needs to happen? You know, as you say, as the economy teeters. Now, I'm not sure how much I agree with the economy teetering. I agree. You and I both agree there's problems, right?
Yeah,
but this last labor
there's systemic
report,
problems, though. There's not just
true.
You know what I'm saying? It's
and
not
I
just,
agree.
I got a problem with it. No, there's a problem with the way the system is.
Agreed. But at the moment, I mean, I read the earnings stuff from this last quarter. Now, this before oil prices shot up, and that's where I agree with your teetering part, okay? Because that hasn't hit those earnings reports, right? Because that always looks backwards, which is part of the problem with Jerome Powell's Fed being data dependent, which means you're always looking backwards, right? So the point being that as these gas and oil prices hit, for sure, then we're going to start to see that, and that's where I think we're teetering at, right? Not today or tomorrow. We're going to see this as this filters through the economy. The other place we're teetering at is Nvidia, in my opinion, and that's a lot of people.
OpenAI, man.
It's the same thing in that. So let's talk about the circle of life, so to speak, with Nvidia, because I was doing some research on this, and it's really quite scary. It's kind of the Broadcom of our day now, and that is Nvidia makes money, right? And their margin, they're running like a 70% net margin on these chips, because you know they're patented, and that's their right. They're completely in bounds to do that, of course. So they go to XYZ company and say, hey, you need chips. We will dealer finance these chips for you, right? Well, that means NVIDIA is lending them the money to buy the NVIDIA chips, right? I think there's a lot of price negotiation that happens during that. So what's the true value of the chip?
Correct.
Right? So they're financing it at a very low rate. And then NVIDIA turns around and says, hey, look at this huge order we got. And they forget to mention they finance it themselves. So now where we're going to see this happen, and this is what happened during the dot-com bubble, in that when we start to see some real free market stuff happen, somebody else comes up with a chip, even if it does 70%, make it up a number here of what the NVIDIA chips do, but it's enough of a competitive adversary that now we start getting some price discovery going, right? Then we'll start to see what these things are really worth. And the first time NVIDIA has a blip in earnings, look out.
Exactly. That's why Michael Burry is shorting that stuff, right?
Yep. And everybody mocked him when he shorted, I think it was Palantir is the one I'm thinking of, but I could be wrong about that. Everybody's like, oh, he's lost it.
It's NVIDIA and Palantir, both of them.
It's down 30% since then.
Yep.
So I'd call that a pretty good short. So
he's rarely wrong.
We'll see what happens, you know.
Hey, Gentili, if you're still on, sir, I was trying to quote you the other day, and one of the things that you said to me early on in our relationship, which has stuck with me to this day, but I can't verbalize it as well as you did. If you're on, sir, it was something like every system is perfectly set up to produce the outcome. So, for example, if I'm Chevy and every 10th car I make is a piece of crap and can't be sold to the consumer, it's got to go back into the manufacturing process. That system was perfectly designed to create it that way. That's just the output that it does, you know. You got to look at the system to fix that thing, you know. And my point of that is a systemic problem with the way that our economy is structured, so that you could have an Iran go rogue, shut down the Strait of Hormuz and some other stuff like this, and now you have a ripple effect across everything, when in reality, we could be energy independent if we wanted to. We just choose for whatever reason not to.
Yep.
Michael says, yeah, that's right. Okay, good. I didn't want to
miss I want to go back up to Bruce's comment there about Fram.
Bruce. Oh, yeah, there we go.
There you go. I don't know if they're going out of business or not. Fram was owned by First Brands. which is First Brands is out of business. They were doing fraudulent stuff with vendor financing and accounts receivable financing. I don't know. I haven't heard. I would assume somebody else would take Fram over. I mean, that name is iconic in auto parts, of course. So I'm going to work under the assumption somebody's going to take it over. That said, I was at my local Walmart yesterday grabbing oil filters for one of the vehicles, and I'm not sure if they just rearranged that Walmart. So I'm not sure if they ran inventory down so it'd be easier to move stuff around, or if they're running that short, but they did not have a single Fram filter of any of the 3 grades that I needed for that vehicle, and the shelf was pretty much bare. So I went to up here. We got a little place called Fleet Farm. It's kind of like Tractor Supply, and I got the last 2 Fram oil filters of that part number there. They were also very low on Fram stuff, so I assume Fram's having trouble getting product out the door right now with all this stuff, but we'll wait and see.
What about Wix?
Didn't look for that again. And I just preached Rock Auto. Normally I buy my filters straight off them as well. But I needed one right away.
Gotcha.
So I didn't want to wait for shipping. Plus to ship one oil filter isn't worth it.
Yeah.
Technique only. I order a year worth of oil change supplies from Rock Auto in December of every year for the following year. And then the shipping cost is more than offset by the savings. And I will really jump off that soapbox now. So,
yeah.
All right.
Bruce says we bought all the oil for our fleet on closeout. Good for you, brother.
Yeah, it's a way to do it. So there's a guy here, Luke Groman. This story is from Bloomberg. And this is one of those things. I really like this Luke Groman guy. If you had a chance, look him up. Finance guy, does a lot of long format stuff. Very much respect his opinion on stuff. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Yeah, I keep a year's worth on hand.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Groman has the saying, why am I reading this now? When you talk about news articles, because news articles, even if the news source, whether that be Bloomberg or CNN or Fox or whichever propaganda outlet you prefer, even if they're reporting it completely accurately, the question he likes to ask is, why am I reading this now? Why is this information being presented to the media now? Okay. So you remember old Hank Paulson, TARP fame, right? Well, he's back in the news cycle all of a sudden, right? And
is he under indictment?
Nope, he's not. But our first bullet point here is he calls on U.S. authorities to prepare a backup plan to avert potential collapse in demand for treasuries. Why is he bringing this up now?
It's weird.
Why didn't he bring this up during the height of COVID or whenever, right?
I'm sure he had a good reason.
The next one, he warns about a breakdown in the market for U.S. government debt would have vicious effects. I agree with that completely, right? And be different from the financial crisis he dealt with while at Treasury. There's any number of reasons there, because we're already $39 trillion and a little change in debt, different market, different culture in the sense of, back then, it wasn't avocado toasting Tide Pods, right? So then the last one here is, he said, preparing for the potential crisis would require increased revenues. That's taxes and straight up taxes, and dealing with expenses, including overhauling Social Security and healthcare programs. So what I've seen in decades of watching political critters out there is you'll get somebody like a retired Treasury Secretary to go out and do an interview or a series of interviews bringing these things up. And then they'll do polls and see what people think. And that will drive what the politicians do. Okay. Now, this overhauling Social Security and healthcare programs, which of course is Medicare and Medicaid, this is the floating part of it. This means they see the trouble on the horizon, in my opinion, and they're trying to figure out what will be politically palatable to the electorate in these changes. There has been talk, theories for a long time. Just make Social Security means test Social Security and become solvent real fast.
Yeah.
Got more than pick your number, $1 million in net worth. no social security for you, none, zero, until your net worth comes below what, pick your number, whatever it is, right? Those sorts of things are out there, and it makes these programs solvent real fast. When, especially when you talk about net worth, because you can have somebody be like, "Well, I've only got X number of dollars in my retirement accounts." Yeah, but you got a bunch of home equity, and that's part of your net worth,
I tell
right?
you what, you want to start the shooting, or let me say this. Let me say that again because I don't want the censors to go crazy. If you want to start a kinetic solution bubbling to the top, start stealing people. You already stole my money my entire adult life. From the time I
Uh-huh.
started work at 16 at McDonald's, you've been stealing from me this whole time. And now you're going to tell me I don't get the stolen money back that I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be given? You're like, oh, no, no, okay, roger that.
Yep. Well,
Good luck with that.
this is all part of the fourth turning, right?
Yep, yep.
So we know the big picture framework, and so this is a culmination of that. And when you've got, I mean, you and I, we haven't talked about the show in a long time. Maybe we should touch on it next week on a quick chart. Let's look at the median retirement savings by age. I mean,
That's a great one.
it's pathetic, guys, and it's
You want to
coming.
lose sleep?
Yeah. And it's
Look at
coming.
that.
And the politicians, if they want to stay in office, team red or team blue, doesn't matter. They got to find a solution to this because people are going to start screaming for something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's there's a lot of moving parts within that. So
What about
what's
Don's
Don think?
comment? Don says, I recently read that the U.S. debt to GDP ratio is just hit 100%, which puts us, according to a financial definition, in the banana republic category. Have you heard that, Will?
Yeah, he's right. That's
Damn.
completely what it is. And you know, the one caveat I'll put on there is let's bear in mind the banana republics couldn't print their own reserve currency, which
Well,
comes back to the treasury
what are you
market.
talking about? Zimbabwe printed a bunch of money. Did that?
Yeah, but they weren't the reserve currency. There was no demand for it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They
Hence
just print the
hyperinflation.
damn money. Well, this idea that we'll just be reserve currency forever, how'd that work out for Holland? How'd that work out for the British pound sterling? I could
Agreed.
keep going all day long.
Yeah.
This is transient, guys. We're not going to be the thing forever, and yet we act like we are. And again, it's the Tinkerbell effect. It works until it don't.
Yeah, I agree. But for now, it's working. And honestly, I would, barring a world war, which of course no, we don't want to see it in any way, shape, or form. I don't see us losing reserve currency status for decades. Because
Well, the problem
who's
is
it going to be?
Yeah, I know.
Minus a
And you're
world war,
right.
right?
I've got the solution for you. Okay. Right
Okay.
now, you're going to say,
know,
well, it can't be right. Yeah. Yeah. Write this down, everybody. I feel a Nobel Prize coming. I'm just saying. Just saying. I'll go to Oslo anytime they want me to. Well, anyway, my point of saying that is, right now you'd remember, and you'd go, no, hell no. You know why, Rich? And I'd say, well, why? And you would say, well, because Xi Jinping is too much of an autocrat. It's too dictatorial over there. You can't trust him. Blah 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 blah. Fill in the blank, right? But Xi Jinping is going to die, and there's going to be some charismatic cat that rises from the ashes. And he has a way forward. You don't want to put your money in America. Look at by that time, we'll be $57 trillion in debt or some point here in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Look what I got here. I got a stable workforce. I got this and that. Da, 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 da. We don't do that anymore. What Xi did. No, that's terrible. And we're done,
Mm-hmm.
or they take and seize Taiwan and we just keep rattling the saber and doing jack squat about it. And you get a new guy in there. So there's ways we can lose it rather rapidly. And we're well on that collision course. You heard it here first, folks.
I agree. It's going to happen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't
I'll predict in our lifetime. I'll predict you'll see it happen. You might be 80, but you'll see it happen.
Not sure.
Okay.
And I agree. And it's not a negative. I'm just not sure. The biggest problem with China is their demographics.
Johnny King says, great show, gentlemen. Got to go support the war fighters. What you're doing is much more important than what two talking heads are doing. So God bless you for it, Johnny. Be careful, brother.
Absolutely. Take care, brother. The biggest problem with China is their demographics. There was a chart somewhere I had at one point showed their replacement rate. Of course, you have to have 2.1-ish children per woman or female identifying person. to keep a population going, right?
Chest feeder. I call them chest feeders. That
There you
like
go.
yesterday was Happy Chest Feeder Day.
How how inclusive of you, sir. The you know, but the China was like I don't know 1.04 or something. I mean, it's astoundingly low, and that's the problem. They're going to have. Matter of fact, in the ad on deck that we're not going to get to today because we're an hour into this, haven't really hit the meat of this of the show yet. But
I'm sorry.
it's all good. Now this is awesome. But the point being that we're not much better shape here in America. So everybody's demographics are declining. So it's going to be who declines the least. You know.
Now you're talking to some. Here's my conspiracy theory: the Chinese demographics are all bullshit. I'm gonna tell you why. I don't. If you Google Chinese population, you're going to see 1.4 or somewhere in the neighborhood. It's crap. There's no way. You do the math. It was 500,000 at some point, and then you look at the one Chinese policy and one child per couple and how many decades that ran, and I'm going, there's no way. You do the math yourself. Create a spreadsheet. It will not work out. You will never get that number to where it needs to be. You know why? Because there was no incoming population. It wasn't like 100 million Mongols just decided to move into China. Hell no, that didn't happen. They didn't have a Mexico and South American people flooding into their country or Syrians into Europe. They had nobody. It's a closed border for all intents and purposes. So where did they get all these people from if their birth rate was what it was? The math does not add up. So I'm just telling you that is not accurate.
I'm going to give you, after years of following finance and looking at numbers and all these things, I'm going to tell you something about how you figure out Chinese numbers for these things. It's real simple. Remember phone books?
Yeah.
Okay. You can open a phone book and there's lots of numbers in there, right? And that doesn't make any freaking sense unless you know what you're looking at. That's correct. Chinese numbers. I don't care if you want to talk about earnings or population or GDP. It's like, whose line is it anyway? The points are made up and they don't matter. Okay.
Well said. That's what I'm getting at. Bullshit.
It's all bovine excrement. Completely. Correct. Okay.
Thank you, Alan. Look at that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, sir. But the one thing you can watch with the Chinese lie numbers is look for the trend. And the trend is generally right. Just ignore the actual numbers. Just look at it as a line graph.
Because here's another thing I'll give you for proof of what I'm saying. You don't want to trust the map. What about all these cities that they built and they're just sitting there? Rich, that's a cultural thing. They got them. Is that bullshit too? There's something going on there, man, that I can't see it, which speaks also to your point about why the renminbi may never be it, because you can't trust anything coming out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you can trust what we're doing here in America.
Yeah. Well, and even people say, well, how about BRICS? Like, well, China's part of it. And anything China is a piece of, I don't see the world getting behind that, minus them becoming the dominant power because of a world war where they can hold their military over everybody.
They don't have it right now.
And they don't. I agree. So, and
here's the thing: the Soviets did, Will. The Soviets did, and there was one day in 1990 or 1991 where it all came down, crumbled down, and then you had generals selling off submarines.
Yep.
Like, you want a nuclear sub? I didn't have to take the warheads off of it, but you could have it. I mean, and what are you willing to pay for some high-end helicopters? I can deliver 10 tomorrow. Send your C5 over here, and we'll load them up.
Yeah.
And that's where we're heading when we become, and the oligarchs run this effing place, when we finally break ourselves financially.
Yeah. It's inevitable. It happens to every empire. And I use that term accurately. Okay. And it's just the arc of history. There's no high moral ground there. It just is. And the sooner a person can move into acceptance that that's the way it is and then react according to that. In my opinion, for me, my experience, the world started making a lot more sense when I learned these things. I went, okay, I'm just going to react to that.
Yeah. So, are we going to get into laddering today, or did I hijack the show?
Yeah, that's all good. We can do it.
Okay.
All right. So laddering. So we're back into our covered call discussion. Okay. So this is owning a stock and then selling the options for said stock So, for example, today, Rich, you're going to be the stock owner, and I'm going to be the guy buying the options for you. You're going to
Okay.
be selling the covered calls on these. So you're trying to generate some income off stock you already own. I'm the gambler. Okay, I'm trying to go after some returns here. Okay, trading, gambling, whatever you want to call it. And for the record, guys, I run both sides of this. I own my the calls I bought on Owl, Blue Owl, the private credit outfit, doing really well for me right now. They're doing even better now that the market just opened, I believe. But I also sell off covered calls to generate income off of things. And today, Rich, we're also going to talk a little bit about you had reacted a certain way when I said last time we talked that you were like, dude, think about what you just said. You buy stock simply to sell the covered calls? And I went, yep, sure do. I'm going to show you why. Okay. All right. So laddering. Laddering is a concept of staggering time or price to achieve your goal. Your goals of either reducing risk, allowing flexibility, or both. Okay. So you can do it with time or price. For the simplicity of it, for all the examples today, we're going to keep the time constant. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to vary the price because if you vary both, it's the same concept and it's just a little harder to follow, especially in this type of format. So we're just going to isolate the price. So the way I set these up on all these charts we're going to get into is originally this show was supposed to be April 20th. So I wrote it for April 20th to 24th. That's a Monday to a Friday. So the example still holds true and the prices are then. So we're just going to pretend it's April 20th after this. Okay. Good old 420 day. Right. So to kind of cement laddering into our heads, let's talk about it on a more mundane level here. So this is something I advocate people do with their emergency fund because it does two things. It locks up those funds into CDs where maybe a person with less discipline than you and I can't get to it, can't go buy the big screen TV down at Walmart, right? So let's say, Rich, you got a 1-year emergency fund, and I'm just going to keep the math easy. Let's say your expenses are $1,000 a month, so you got a $12,000 1-year emergency fund, right? Now, you can leave that in a savings account, but it's not going to earn as much interest as if you put it in a CD, right? So do you put all $12,000 in a 1-year CD? Well, what if you need it before that 1-year CD matures, right? So what if you put $1,000 in a 1-year CD here on May 11th, and then June 1st, you put another $1,000 in a 1-year CD. You do the same thing July 1st, August 1st, and you set those up just to auto renew with your bank. And then an emergency happens, you lose your job. Every month, you have a 1-year CD maturing with interest. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, that's laddering. You're just laddering that time. In this case, with the 1-year CD, because it's a 1-year out expiration date, right? It takes a year to fully get into this cycle. Okay. And then if your expenses go up to say $1,200 a month, when each one renews, you add a couple $100 to it. Right. And you just keep rolling these over into perpetuity. Okay. So that's laddering. Okay. So now that's laddering with time. Okay. What we're going to talk about today with the covered calls is laddering price. Okay. But that gets the concept in a person's head for laddering. Making sense so far?
It is. I've got wolfhounds that are howling. That's why I got you on mute.
That's all good. That's all good. All right. So we can it's all right. Mine were running around upstairs earlier. I hope you guys couldn't hear that, but I got 140 pounds worth of mastiff jumping up and down on the floor above me for some reason. So
it's chaos here right now, bro. Chaos.
Yeah, chaos is good. Chaos is good. So, all right. So that's laddering with time for a CD. Now we're going to keep the time constant between April 20th, Monday, and April 24th, a Friday. Okay. So what I did in this example, if you go to the next one, I'm pretty sure I used Oklo. Okay. I just picked a stock. We could have picked anything. The reason I picked Oklo is because the premiums are better. And we're going to get into that if you're going to get yourself a decent return on a covered call strategy, you got to use stocks that are more volatile, which is going to go against your nature, brother. Okay, and that's okay because this is learning. Okay, so you got to remember you don't really care about the stock like if it was a normal investment. Okay, for the way we're running the strategy right now, you do want something that's generally in an uptrend. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about other stuff. I think in 2 shows is what I have in mind here. We're gonna go the other way on this, and I don't want to confuse anybody with where it's going. So stay here. So this is Oklo, and I keep Oklo all the way through this. So here's our assumptions on the left. You hold 400 shares of Oklo. You bought them on Monday, April 20th. Okay. And you bought these at 66 a share. And you can see up at the top, it's 66.90 was the share price when I ran these. Keeping the math simple, I'm just making it 66 a share. Okay. So the math still maths either way. This is about more of the concept of it. Okay. So if we look at our graphic here, you'll see the expiration for these options is April 24th. Which is in 6 days from when I pulled these. In fairness, I pulled these on a Sunday, guys, because otherwise these numbers are constantly changing if I pull these while the market's open. And then from one example to the other, it doesn't work because the numbers are going to change. Does that make sense why I did this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that's why it says 6 days, not 5 days. Okay. And you'll see you've got your strike prices going, starting there at the top at 66 and going, I've got it cut off there at 80. Okay. So again, you hold 400 shares of Oklo. All right. And let's refresh everybody's memory. One options contract controls 100 shares. So with 400 shares, I can only sell off 4 options contracts. Okay. Now let's say Oklo is a stock that you believe in, Rich. Okay. And you want to hold it. Nothing says you have to sell covered calls for all 400 shares. Okay. You could do it for just 200 and run with the other 200.
Right.
Okay. So I'm just using this example. We buy 400 shares of Oklo and we turn around and sell the covered calls on them. Now you could go if on Tuesday Oklo starts going up more and you want more, buy 200 shares and just hold the shares. Okay.
Right.
Just to throw that concept out there. Okay. Let's look at the $67 strike price for April 24th. All right. And you can see there highlighted the last trade on that. It was $3.70 a share. Okay. So if you bought this at the real price, 66.90, so you bought it at 66 and
what's that 370? I don't understand.
Okay, that's $3.70 per share is what I'm going to pay you to purchase the option to buy your shares of Oklo at 67 a share.
And that's the money I get to keep, and that's determined by this agency, or where's that?
This is pure market pricing. So if suddenly demand goes down for Oklo, you'll see this change from 370 to 320, or whatever the price is. Okay, and you'll also notice you'll see the bid and the ask prices. That's sometimes referred to as the spread. So think of it as an auction. Somebody's bidding 355 but you're asking 385. The last price is usually somewhere near the middle of those numbers. Okay. So we're just going to concentrate on the last price, just getting the concept here. Okay. So the $3.70 a share times 100 shares means I'm going to give you $370 to purchase that option to buy your shares at 67 at or before April 24th.
Okay.
But the price has to go through 67 for me to exercise that option. If it goes to 66.99, I never get the ability to buy those shares from you, and you keep the $370. Okay.
And again, you never have to exercise that option. It's just what you're saying. It's an option, right?
Correct. Okay. And no matter what happens after this, you keep the $370.
Correct.
Okay. So now you're going to ladder this. So you bought your 400 shares at 66. You're going to sell me. Let's just say it's just me and you the way this works out.
Yeah,
I'm going to buy one options contract from you for 67. And here's $370, Mr. Brown. All right. I'm going to do it. You're going to throw another one out there for $70 a share. And that's $2.55 a share because there's less chance it makes 70 versus 67, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to pay you $2.55 a share times 100, $255, right?
Uh-huh.
Go down to 75. Again, less chance. So I'm not going to pay as much for that. Okay. Times 100 shares is $135. And then the last one there, 78 cents times 100 is $78. Total all those up on the right, even using Kentucky math in case Johnny King is still watching, $838. So I immediately when I hit execute on these, $838 goes into your account. Okay. No matter what happens after this, you keep that $838. And we're going to talk about some what ifs here. What if this happens? What if that happens? Okay. We're going to talk about if the price goes up. We're going to talk about if the price stays the same. And we're going to talk about if the price goes down. Okay.
Okay.
Last I checked, those are the only three possibilities in the stock market. Okay. All right. So now in this example, let's say Aqua goes to $71 a share by market close on April 24th. All right. Now we're going to break these down by each one here. Okay. So the top one there in yellow, you bought it at 66. It went to 67. You made $1 a share before I went, I'm going to exercise my option, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you made $1 a share. You also got $3.70 a share from me to purchase that option, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So your total change is $4.70 a share. You made $1 off the share price appreciation. You made $3.70 off me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even using the new math, that turns out to $4.70 a share. That's a 7% return in a week. You made more off the option than you did off the stock.
Yeah.
Okay.
You made
That's
double what CDs are paying right now too, by the way.
Exactly. And that's a 519% return annualized. Okay. That's the 67. Now, remember, it only went to 71, right?
Right.
So, but now the 71, it can be exercised as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you bought it at 66. It went to 70 before I could exercise my option. That's $4 a share, right? Plus you got the $2.55 a share. So that's $6. You made $6.55 a share off that. That's a 10% return in a week. Okay. All right. So far, so good. All right.
Yep.
So now, again, it only went to 71 by market close. So it never got above the strike price for the next one at 75 a share, right?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't break the strike price. I can't exercise that option from you. Okay. So
and I get to keep the 135.
And you keep the $5 a share you made on the share price appreciation to 71. So now you made the 5, you made the $1.35, so you made $6.35 a share. So this is the perfect spot for selling out of the money covered calls. Out of the money meaning the strike price is above the current price when you write the call option.
I'm absolutely with you until you get into the blue part because you didn't make anything because you didn't sell it at 75. It's still sitting in your account,
Correct.
So my brain would never say, "Well, I made that." Man, you didn't realize that gain.
Turn it into your account balance went up.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it into that, okay? Because when you look at that across time, your account balance keeps going up, which is what we want, right? Okay. So your account balance is up $5 a share, plus you made $135 off me, right? So now you made this is the perfect spot. I mean, in a perfect world, it would make $74.99, right? But it didn't. It made 71. So you made $5 a share off the stock price appreciation, plus you got $1.35 from me. That's a 10% return in the week. Okay. And the last one is the option you sold to me at 80. Again, the share price went to 71, so you still were up $5 a share there. Plus you got the 78 cents from me. That's $5.78. Okay. It's about 10% return. I know it's the same as the 635. I'm rounding here for simplicity's sake. Okay.
Sure.
So this would be a ladder cover call. So when April 24th, the market closes, at that moment, then you would now only own 200 shares of Aklo because the 67 strike and the 70 strike would assign those would be sold out of your account, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're down to 200 shares. Now, let's say you know this is going to happen because you can see where the price is at. You could go in right before market close and buy another 200 shares of Aklo if you deeply want to hold 400 shares of Aklo, or you could just let it ride out. And Monday morning, you could buy more. You could never buy more. Whatever you choose to do, it's still somewhat a free country. Okay. So this is the game within this. Okay. Tracking so far?
I keep having to mute because the dogs are still going
That's all
nuts.
good.
But yeah, I'm still tracking.
Okay. Good. All right. So now this is just what we discussed. You're going to get 200 shares. They're going to get assigned, meaning I'm going to exercise that option. Okay. And they get taken out of your account and you sell them at the strike price. Okay. So if we look at this, when you total all that up from share price change, you made $2,000. When you total up all 4 of these positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you made $838 from selling the covered calls. So your net change was $2,838.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you made more money because you did this versus just holding the shares.
True.
Okay. So that's one way it can work out. Okay. Now let's go to the next one.
Okay.
All right. In this example we just went through, and this is a downside of selling covered calls, guys. There's no panacea in financial markets. Mm-hmm. That first 200 shares there, Rich, where you had the strike price at 67 and the strike price at 70, selling the covered calls did limit your upside. Okay, because
I had to get rid of them at that. Is that what you're saying?
You had to get because you had to sell them at 67 and 70 instead of holding them to 71 if you would have sold them on Friday when the market closed. Okay, mm-hmm. So you're trading. If you think about every financial instrument out there, you're always trading a definite outcome for potential gain. Mm-hmm. Right? If you rent, you're never gonna have to pay for a hot water heater, right? But you never get to own anything either, right? So mm-hmm. You're always trading that off, and that's why I like to ladder things like this, because I don't know what the share price is going to do in the future. Okay, so I'm trading the certainty of the money from the covered call for the potential increase in share price. So it's a risk management thing. Okay. I do want to emphasize, you guys, there's a time and a place for everything, right? There's a time and a place to do covered calls. There's a time and a place to short a market. There's time and place to use leverage and go long in a market. There's a time and a place for everything. This is not a panacea. This is not an end all be all. It's one tool in the toolbox. And just like working on a car, if you grab the wrong tool at the wrong time, it's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. Okay? That said, I will go back to selling the covered call can never make your account balance go down.
True.
Okay. It may not go up as much as it would have, but it will not go down because of doing this. And that's one thing I like about this. Okay. So my risk is in limiting my upside, not in losing money. Make sense?
Yeah. No, okay. It does. It just, I'll always fall back to the actualization part. It's not the 67 and the 71 completely or 70 completely actualized. I get it. Mm-hmm. And the remaining of it stays in your account. But, I didn't truly make that money. My account balance looks like I did, but until I actually actualize it or realize it, whatever the appropriate word would be, maybe I'm a negative person. It's not real. It's a fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy. It's not real. It's fairy dust. It's not there. It's not on the elemental chart, if you will, to quote Matthew McConaughey. And like he says, these guys are getting rich on paper, right? While me and you are taking home cash, and that's part of the thing here. I appreciate this, and I love the yellow and the orange because that's real money. I made the money up front. I get to keep it. And, oh, by the way, when I sold it, I made a profit. Mm-hmm. The rest of the stuff is potential future gains, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but it's no different than holding gold from 1,000 to 4,000,
Exactly.
right?
I agree
So,
because I look at it when we talked about this before. It doesn't scare me when it goes wherever it goes because it's a long term insurance policy, not an investment. You know,
yep. No, I'm with you.
yeah.
So, um,
I love the laddering though because it's I don't know, it intuitively makes sense to me. I never thought about laddering CDs and stuff like that.
mhm.
That was worth the price of admission for the day to me, just to think about another strategy.
So it's worth nothing to you. Price of admission was zero, brother. So, uh, no,
I
I'm
thought we
glad you
don't
asked
charge
about it.
people for this. What am I
Yeah,
doing here?
I don't know. Miss Lisa's been sending me a check. Maybe it's just to be your friend. I don't know. But I love laddering stuff because it also it gives you a way to control things and manage your risk and your up manage your upside and do things incrementally.
Love it.
When I was a novice investor, I thought it was like all in or all out, and you can think about a dollar cost averaging, right? Every financial guy out there, dollar cost average, dollar cost average. Well, that's laddering. I'm laddering my purchase price,
I love it.
right?
It
So
makes sense to me, but it's not necessarily intuitive. But once you hear it, it's like you can't unhear it. Like, holy
yeah,
crap, this makes sense.
yeah. So all right. So now, let's say Akko stays at 66. Not
Okay.
realistic, I know. Let's just say it stays exactly at 66 for the whole week, all the way across. Doesn't move at all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the we do the same. We hold 400 shares. Purchase price was 66. You ladder the exact same covered calls. That's going to stay constant through all these examples. Okay. So you got 370 for the 67 strike. You got 255 a share for the 70, $1.35 for the 75, and 78 cents a share for the 80. All those numbers stay the same. The only variable in this, also the expiration date of the option is the same, April 24th. The only thing that changed from the previous example is Oklo stays at exactly 66 a share throughout this. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we go to our yellow here. Your profit from holding the shares, zero. You bought it at 66, and on April 24th, it's still 66. So you made no account balance change on the shares, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But you still kept my $3.70 a share.
Correct.
That's a 6% return in a week.
I love that.
Okay. The next one, the 70. You made zero account balance change on the shares because they stayed exactly at 66, but you keep my $2.55 a share, $2.55 a share. See, that's a 4% return in a week.
Yeah.
The 75, you still kept my $1.35 a share. That's a 2% return in a week. Now you go, well, what's the big deal? That's 149% annualized, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Big
That's
deal.
nothing to scoff at. Okay.
Uh-uh.
And then the last one, you kept my 78 cents a share. That's a 1% return in a week. 9%.
Especially here, I love what you just said. I don't want to breeze by it. If you own OKLO, whatever, and you own all these other things and they're just sitting there, this is a way to frickin', I mean, I know you said it weeks ago, but this is a way to profit from the shit just sitting there.
Right.
And if some of it you have to you have to sell it because they want to exercise the option and it did what it did, then great. If you believe in it, go back and get some more of it. What's the harm? I
Right.
mean, it's
and if you think it shot up too much, don't buy any more yet. Even if you believe in the company, right? If you think like, oh man, it ran away, it's got to come back down here.
It's oversold, yeah.
Or overbought.
I'm sorry, yeah, overbought.
Yeah, I know what you meant. But yeah, so it's overbought now. So now I'll still hold my other 200 shares, right? So now we financial guys love to talk about dollar cost averaging in. This is a way to dollar cost average out, right? Also, here's something else to think about. Let's say it shoots up a whole bunch. Let's say it went to, I don't know, let's just make up a number and say it went to $74.99. Okay. So you still have your other 200 shares because those didn't hit the strike price, right?
Right.
And you're like, oh, it's overbought big time. Well, then you turn around and sell covered calls on those 200 shares you still own for the next time around, say for maybe 80, 81, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And then when the stock price comes back down, you still keep that premium from those covered calls you sell next week. So it offsets some of that pullback, and then you buy back in at a cheaper price.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can use that covered call to buffer some of your downside, which will actually be the next next step. This is my buddy Nate. How you doing, Nate? So what's Nate saying?
Nate says, is laddering CDs something that should be done in retirement or prior to? Of course, we're talking primarily about laddering in another context, but laddering in CDs, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I do it now. Okay. And I'll do it in retirement. Now I do it with the emergency fund. In retirement, you can do it. A common strategy in retirement is to have your 6 months or 12 months. Really, in retirement, I really advocate for a 2-year emergency fund. Not that you might lose your job because you're already retired, but let's say the market takes a big pullback, and you don't want to take money out of your account when the market just pulled back, say 20%, because you want to give it time to recover, right? Well, now you can maybe take and pull half what you need to live on out of your account and the other half out of your emergency fund. And that CD rolling every month will allow you to do that automatically. So I advocate doing both. All right. Plus, if you ever get in a jam, and this would not be the optimum thing, okay? You can borrow against those CDs. So let's say, Rich, you need a whole bunch of money right now because there's some terrible medical emergency in your family.
I got to bail Miss Lisa out of the got to bail Miss Lisa.
Again, geez, the drinking's out of control. Really, I mean, that drinking and hair product just don't mix. Ask me.
You should know, Will. I was going to say.
I do. I could make a documentary on this. But let's say you need more of that money up front. You're like, oh, these CDs are locked up. You can go to the bank and say, hey, I want to borrow $5,000 on a 6-month note. Okay. And as these CDs mature, pay down that note. So you can still access that money early without paying the penalties. And it's usually about a 10% penalty. So you're better off paying a little interest than the penalty.
Amen on that.
So you can make that stuff work. And the bank is more than happy to make a little extra money off you. All right. So if the stock
we're ready for the next one, right?
If the stock stays flat here, we make money. So this is the same example. We fast forward to April 24th. No shares get assigned because the stock stayed steady at 66 a share, right? So you still own 400 shares. Your account balance changed. See, I was thinking of you, brother. Okay. From share price 0, because the stock stayed exactly at your purchase price of 66. You made $838 selling those covered calls.
I love that.
That means you made a 3% total return. When you average all those out, you made 3% in a week. Even using the new math, that's pretty darn good if your retirement plan is built around 8% annually.
Love that. And that's real,
That's real.
That's real.
That's new money into your account. Now, here's the beauty of this. You can do this inside IRAs.
Really?
Yes. So I do this inside my Roth IRAs. So you can put, at my age, $8,000 a year in a Roth IRA, right? Well, I can turn around and do this and let the account balance go up with very little risk. And it doesn't matter what the max contribution is. Because this goes right into that Roth IRA. It does not count against your contribution because it's an account balance change. No different than if a share price went up, right? It's not like you put $8,000 on an IRA and they go, oh, you can only make this much a year. It's the same idea, right?
I dig it. I like this.
You can generate income. Now, let's think about this as a retirement thing, okay? Stay on this slide. Let's think about this as a retirement strategy. Let's say your standard retirement planning number is you pull out your first year in retirement, you pull 4% out of your account, and that's what you live on, and then you adjust that for inflation every year. So if inflation runs 2%, next year you pull out whatever that number is, adjust it up 2%. And Monte Carlo marketing tells us if you pull out 4% annually, statistically you'll basically never run out of money. Okay. But I made 3% in a week.
Yeah.
So how much can I actually pull out? Well, you do you. But
exactly.
I can pull down 3% a week. I mean, heck, make it 3% a month. Instead of going, I mean, do them all at, let's look at your 80 strike. Let's say you're sold all 400, or you back the covered calls with your 400 shares all at 80, right? That's 1% a week. If we look at our bottom box there, that kind of, I don't know what color that is, kind of a light blue. That's 1% in a week.
So you're saying if I would have done all 400 shares at the 80 strike price?
Right. So you would have
it'd
brought
be 4 times 78. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, $312 for doing nothing.
Okay. Now, let's just say, as long as you got your calculator out there handy, let's say instead of 400 shares of that, let's say you did that with, let's say Rich got really ballsy here. Do that with 4,000 shares. Do that with 4,000 shares.
Yeah, so it would be
0.78 times 4,000.
Yeah, yeah, $3,120
in a week.
In a week.
So, this is one way to run your retirement planning. Now, like we talked about, this works better on volatile stocks, and Oklo is volatile. Okay, so I'm not saying I would build a retirement plan around Oklo or Nvidia or any of those. Oklo is
because at the end of the day, you're holding 4,000 shares of a volatile stock.
Exactly. And if it goes down 20%, as we're about to get into it, you're going to lose that 20%. You'll still keep the money for the options. Okay. So this is where you do have to have a mix. Again, I'm not saying this is the end all be all. Okay. This is one tool. And the more volatile the stock is, the more premium you're going to get off of it. But there's also a better chance it's going to go down because it is volatile. Okay. Because you have to think about the two mentalities here, brother. So you're trying to generate income. I'm buying this option. I'm a gambler. I'm gambling. So if the stock is not volatile, if it's Walmart, I have Walmart, full disclosure, and I do sell covered calls on Walmart stock that I hold, but I make like 4% annually. This is not volatile. There's less chance of it moving a whole bunch, right? But let's think about this for a second. I mean, Walmart's not going anywhere, right? So I could hold in retirement, I could hold a whole bunch of Walmart stock. It pays out a small dividend, and I can make 4% annually income off selling their covered calls. That's what we say we're going to pull out of our account for retirement, right?
Well,
I'm not generating that income.
And you never pull from the principal.
Exactly.
Yeah, love it.
So it's a mix. Okay. I've got, I sell covered calls in Walmart. I also, I came up with this Oklo example because I was doing pretty much this trade with Oklo. Okay. I also had some in Nvidia last week. All right. I will sell covered calls on GLD, the gold ETF. Yeah. So, and if it goes down, well, I own GLD.
Yeah.
Which is
you own a piece of paper that says you own GLD.
Right. So this is, you can do it across, there is technically an options market for just about everything for this stuff. However, there may not be a lot of volume. Okay. If I go into one of the areas I'm dabbling in right now is trucking companies. Because our bonus slide deck gets into why I'm doing that. But if you look at like a JB Hunt, there's no real options market there because there isn't enough volume. There's not enough volatility. There's no real options market for that. So therefore, I don't have
JB Hunt.
JBHT, if I remember it. So right now, full disclosure, I have about 10 different trucking companies in the portfolio right now.
Let me ask you this. Now, this may be a very stupid question. Can you do options trading on commodities, or does it have to be an ETF or some sort of stock?
You can't do options on the raw commodity. That's the futures market. But you can do options trading on the ETFs for that. Like up here on my screen now, I got copper. CPER is the ETF for copper. I could do options on CPER. Now, you can do options on the Qs, the NASDAQ ETF, right? But you're also going to find that because of the diversification in ETF, It's not as volatile as individual stocks, right? NVIDIA
Yeah.
might go up 20% in a day, but the NASDAQ is going to go up 20% in a day. So you're not going to see as you're not going to see real big premiums on an ETF versus an individual stock. And a person can just go into their options chain data in their brokerage account of their choice and just start punching in different tickers and see what you see and math it out and see what you're going to make. And you'll see individual stocks will get you a lot more premium. And it all comes back to the volatility.
Yeah. Let's go to some of these questions. Jeff says, Will, were you in math in school?
I'm good at I'll say operational math. My youngest is studying to be a mechanical engineer. He's doing math I do not get.
It's
like both my twins. They've been doing math since like ninth grade. That I'm like, I'll hire a tutor if you need help, but I can't help you with that. So I'm good with operational math. I can do that kind of stuff in my head real fast. The crazy stuff out there, the calculus and stuff. No, I'm just a dumb pilot.
What about John's question? He says it's the standard deviation that gets you in the day trading space.
Yeah. So when things start moving around rapidly, you can get whipsawed in day trading. Oh, it's up, I'm going to chase it. And that's about the time it gets overbought and comes down. That's where your standard day trader loses money. It's where every day trader eventually loses some money.
And John says, my preference as a working guy is to know the trading range of a handful of stocks like XOM and then buy the dips for more volatility, the commodity ETFs.
That's a solid plan. Yeah. And to John's point, there was a time where I tried to know too much. I followed this and I followed that and I followed this. And then things would get jumbled in my head because there's only so much time in the day. And then I made some stupid mistakes and I lost money because the market will punish you for stupid mistakes. And I have learned now there's a few things that I follow pretty closely and a whole lot of stuff I follow loosely. Alerts, like I use TradingView, which does cost some money, but I believe you can set up price alerts also like on Yahoo Finance or Google, which would be free. And if you can look at something like an XOM, let's just use John's example, and say if it goes down to a certain price, I want to buy it. Set up an alert, you'll get an email or what have you, and then do that, and then brain dump that until that alert goes off. So. What's Don say there?
Don says, in my experience, people don't want to do the homework to actively manage their accounts in retirement. They tend to like the autopilot method, throw it into some mutual funds, allocated maybe into market sectors and let it ride, or hand it off to financial advisors and pay them to do the exact same thing. They seldom want to learn about or act on laddering or trading options or individual shares. I would have loved to introduce some of my clients to you, Will, but of course, it says.
Well, and so too,
Mr. Rob Pincus is on. Come on, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, by the way, Rob, I was hanging out with your boy Clint last week. Clint Macro, good people. So tell him I said hi.
So to Don's point, most people don't want to put in the legwork. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be everything. Gerald, great question on the taxes. We're going to hit that on the final slide. And most people don't want to put the legwork in on this or on whatever it is, right? There's stuff I don't want to put the legwork in on, so I hire somebody, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Different strokes for different folks, right? There is, to Don's point, there is full disclosure. I own both of these. BlackRock has 2 covered call mutual funds. BD Max, Bravo Delta, Mike Alpha X-Ray, and BDMCX, Bravo Delta, Mike Charlie X-Ray. I think BD Max is closed. I don't think they're taking new money into that one. Best of my knowledge, it's a high upfront fee. I think it's 5% they take off the top when you buy it. Or it's, I think, actually, I might change it. I think they take 1% in the beginning. If you sell it within 5 years, they take 4% out when you sell it. It's a market neutral fund. They're not trying to go up or down with the actual price of it, but it spits out a 9% dividend off covered calls. Actually, I think the share price has gone up a little bit. I think it's down to a 7% dividend, but the share price actually went up. But it's spitting out a nice little dividend there, and BlackRock knows a thing or two about running money. So if you like this strategy and concept, but you don't want to put the legwork in, consider those. I don't make anything off that. Hashtag not financial advice. I have an Illinois public school education. Don't listen to me. I'm an idiot. Okay.
Yeah. And for Rob and folks like him out there, everybody probably knows who Mr. Pincus is, but an amazing firearms advocate in the 2A space, a great firearms trainer, exceptional guy. I need to have you back on the show, Rob. But what are two self-defense shooter? What is this? The American Wear Society? Why are you talking about this? And we haven't. It's been months since we talked about that. Why are we doing this? Why don't we? This is our Monday show. Why don't we talk about finances and economics and current affairs? What is that about?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because we do get remiss in not bringing this up. And that is that there's many ways to provide and protect for your family. One of those is making sure that if you have to stop at the gas station at 2 a.m., you have the skills to keep them safe, right? Mm-hmm. This is another way to provide and protect for your family financially. Be aware of what's going on in the world. That's why we talk about the news and these sorts of things. And we talk about what's going on, say, in the oil market, because you're going to feel that, right?
Yeah. And
if you can have some insight into those things, that's going to help you better provide for your family. Same way here. These covered calls are a tool to make money, increase your account balance, and better provide and protect your family, right? So this is, and I think this is, before we get to the part where there's the Civil War 2.0 or whatever this, the markets, the news, we're going to see this coming way in advance. The same way you and I look out at demographic changes and can see these changes coming. The upside is all this stuff is like having a crystal ball. The downside is it's like having a crystal ball, and you get to watch the slow motion train wreck. And to that point, guys, and I know I've been down this, and I think you have too, brother, based on our conversations. And if you read a lot of Zero Hedge, which is a valuable resource, but they're Debbie Downer all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Or pick your poison on news source. I always think stuff is going to happen faster because it's so obvious, right?
Yeah,
you can see the demographics happening. It's so obvious. Why does this market keep going up? Because the vast majority of people haven't felt it yet, and therefore they're not reacting to it with their money, and it's not driving markets. So patience, guys. Truly, it's something I've had to just beat into my head.
Well, that you and I are definitely on the same page with that. I'm always like, how is the system still limping along? So many problems in it. How is this monster still crawling across the ground? My God, but it is.
And not only that, but they keep finding ways to bail the system out, right? We really should have had a Great Depression 2.0 when the housing crisis blew up.
Yeah.
That was a banking crisis. That was the Great Depression. That was what the Great Depression was, a banking crisis. That's what 2008 was. But they figured out a way to paper it over.
They tarped over it.
Well played. I've learned to never underestimate the system's ability to keep the system going.
Yes.
And as long as their answer is to print money, no matter what the economy does, if they print enough money, the markets are going to go up because of the excess money in the system.
There's only one time where that's going to blow up, and that's when inflation starts taking off, when it's no longer transitory and they can't stop it, and printing money just makes that problem get bigger.
Yep.
But we're going to see it.
But let's think about old Otto back in Germany, whose last name I can never remember. Mm-hmm. He saw hyperinflation coming, right? And what did he do?
He profited from it.
He bought commodities. He bought something that went inverse and maintained its value. I'll put it that way. Maintained its purchasing power compared to that currency. And again, that's that little piece of information about old Otto, whose kids screwed it up in the end. That is why we talk about this stuff, right?
Yeah,
because that's that point, he protected his family using that knowledge and then acted on it.
Ferguson's book on When Money Dies, or whatever the name of the book is good just for the little vignettes of personal lives, like because of course the Ottos of the Germany were fine. They were small in number, but they were fine. But it's when he talks about the average, like mother and father who are trying to do their thing, and they weren't in the stock market, but what they could do is put it in Swiss francs or something, get it out of that currency so you could weather that storm.
Absolutely.
But Alan says AWS is an overall encyclopedia of self-defense, tactical, and information group that is for us personally and for our family, friends, and members. God bless you for that. What does Don say?
It says what us and other resources like Zero Hedge provide is what he considers over-the-horizon intelligence that allows folks to think strategically and act tactically for the sake of themselves and their families. Couldn't agree more. And
Kind
I know
words,
Don
gentlemen.
gets this.
Thank you.
Yes, very
Much
very
love and
flat.
respect.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The thing to watch, especially with Zero Hedge, I'm gonna pick on them a little bit, is they sell clicks by giving it an emergency to everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I check Zero Hedge every day, but I also take it with that grain of salt, right? And I do the same thing with Fox News and BBC and Al Jazeera. I take each one of them with a grain of salt. Okay,
as you should, sir.
Yes, large.
Okay, moving on.
All right,
large grains.
All right, so now let me expand this out so my old eyes can see it. All right, so now you bought Aklo at 66. Now, as we can see from the red up top, it goes down to 61. All right. Now, again, you bought it April 20th. You bought it April 20th for 66. On market close on April 24th, it goes down to 61. We're going to pretend for this example, it never got above 66. Okay. And so now you sold off your 67 strike to me, Rich. If 370, same $370. That's 70 for 255, 75 for $1.35, and 80 for 78 cents a share, right? Same numbers down there. So now the stock just went down all week. Okay. And it never breached these numbers. It never got up to 67 because I don't have to wait till expiration day to exercise that option. Always remember that, guys. If it makes 67 that same day, I can exercise it. So, for example, it's just going down all week. Okay. So, Rich, you bought Aklo at 66, and you investor, you nailed the peak. It went down.
Yeah.
Great job. Okay. But you got 370, 255, 135, and $78 from me, just like that on Monday morning when you bought the shares, right? So let's look at our 67 strike. Your profit from the share price change was actually a loss. You lost $5 a share. It went from 66 to 61, right? But you made 370 off me.
And I didn't realize the loss.
Yeah, let it go.
I know you hate when I say that, but
let it go. So I'm just gonna beat you about the head and shoulders next time I see you in person.
I love you.
So I love you too, brother. So your total change here in your account balance, you lost $1.30 a share. You lost 5, you made 370. That nets out to a loss of $1.30. Okay. Well, that's still better than losing 5, right? All right. So, and I forgot to put the negative in there. That's a negative 2% return. Sorry. Your 70 strike you sold me, you lost $5 a share on that. All the way down, you're gonna lose $5 a share, but it went from 66 to 61. But you made 255 off me. That means That means your total change, you lost 245 a share. Well, that's better than losing 5, right?
Yeah, it cushions the loss, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you managed your downside risk while at the same time, in fairness, you also capped your upside potential on it as well. So you're getting a little bit of both. This is overall. You
kept your upside potential on like the 80 and by laddering it like this, or
remember
what are you saying?
In our previous example where it went to say 71 a share, you would have actually made more money had you not sold the covered calls, right?
Yeah.
So you did cap the upside potential on those shares because you're going to sell them off at those given prices, 67 or 70, if it goes up, right? Well, you also cushioned your downside. So everything's a trade-off, right? Are you tracking on that?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Okay, very cool. All right. So go back to the previous one, please.
Okay.
There you go. So now we go down the line here. The 100 shares you pledged for the 75 strike, you lost $5 a share on those again, and you brought in $1.35, so you lost 365 a share instead of 5. And then same concept again on the bottom one. Instead of losing $5 a share, you lost $4.22 a share. So when we math that out, when you go to the next page, your account balance change from your share price, you lost $2,000. 400 shares times $5 a share, you lost $2,000. But you brought in $838 from the covered calls. So your account balance only went down $1,162 instead of $2,000, and you still own the 400 shares.
It's easier to explain it to the wife, right?
Yeah,
we're not really down 2,000. We're down 1,100, babe.
Right. But now let's say you go, you know what? There was some weird news that week about Aqua. So now you go, you know what? Maybe your plan all along was to get up to 1,000 shares, and you were dollar cost averaging in. So now after that pullback, maybe you buy another 200 shares, and you're buying it at a cheaper price, and you cushioned your downside. So this is one of the strategies I use. This is it's a tool in the toolbox. It's not the end all be all.
Let me understand this. So not only we're doing laddering here, we're doing dollar cost averaging as well. So
you could do both. Let's say
we're doing both, right?
Yeah, you can. Or let's say you wanted to eventually own 1,000 shares of Aqua. You could have bought all 1,000 on this April 20th date, and then instead of selling 100 of each one, or selling one options contract on each one of these, you could have done. Let's make my math easy and say 800 shares. You could have sold 2 of each of these. Okay. Or you could say, you know what, I'm going to buy 400 shares of Aqua now, and long term, I want to hold 800 shares around this price. So you buy 400 this week, and if it pulls back, maybe you buy another couple hundred, and then you can dollar cost average into a position and sell the covered calls to generate income off those right away.
Sweet, man.
All right.
Digging it.
All
right.
So this is a way to use this. So here's your outcome of this. You, like we talked about a second ago, you still own the 400 shares. Your loss was partially offset by the income of selling the covered calls. Okay. And you can reload these covered calls the following Monday. So you can make money multiple times off the same shares. So it went from 66 to 61. And you go, you know what? I'm just going to sell the 27th, the following Monday morning. You wake up, market opens. You could go, you know what? And this is going to be one caveat here, guys. You bought these shares at 66, right, Rich? And it goes down like that. If you sell your next batch of covered calls below your purchase price, below 66, that's something to watch out for, because now you are going to realize an account balance.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So like the next week I cover, I'm at 61, right? And then I do a covered call at 63, let's say, right? Then I'm about to realize that freaking loss.
Exactly. So what I would do in that case is maybe that following week, I would say, let's say I buy that 200 more shares. Okay. Well, now that 200 shares is at 61. Maybe I'll run some of those at like a 63. But those original ones I bought at 66, maybe I'll run those out at like a 70. Right. And maybe I'll put all 400 of those original shares at 70. Make sense?
Just to keep yourself from realizing that big of a loss.
Exactly. And I'm going, because if it's that volatile, it could bounce back up that much.
True.
Okay.
Especially with something like this stock that you chose this week. That's
Aklo. They're a nuclear play. They have basically zero revenue, but for some reason their market cap is in the billions of dollars. They got in the Trump administration, and they're working on all kinds of different nuclear power. What do they call those small ones? Those modular ones. Is that what they're called? The modular. They're working on those. They're working on a bunch of stuff. Which
they can make it work is going to be huge, man.
Yeah, and that's why and Peter Thiel, I believe, is involved with Aklo. We know his track record with stuff. That's why their stock price and their market cap is where it is, despite having almost no revenue.
Yeah.
So but again, it's very volatile, and therefore you can make good premium on the covered calls. And let's say it hits, well, then you own Aklo, right?
Exactly.
So, um, so this is one way within this. You can also do this, like we talked about, with more, put it this way, more stable, less volatile stocks, like I do with Walmart. Okay, I like right now. Last I looked, which was Friday, Walmart was around 130 a share ish. Okay, I sold off 500 or five covered call options for the 140 strike for this coming Friday. I think I'm making 3.5% annualized on that. Okay, which isn't low. You know, that's not going to let me retire that much earlier, right? But that's in addition to the 1.5% ish dividend they pay, right? And I own Walmart.
And it's a number greater than zero. Let's be honest.
Exactly, yeah. So it's a way to generate income off that. And if Walmart goes to, 140, and I get assigned on that, those get called away. Well, I'm just going to rebuy Walmart, right? So, and then it says you have to do this with all your shares. Let's say you really believe in Walmart because they're your people, okay? Plus, you go there to feel better about yourself. So, let's say you own 1,000 shares of Walmart. Do 500 of them in these covered calls. Let the other 500 just do their thing, just like holding the stock, right?
True.
So, and again, mentally, it's that laddering thing. Just because I'm doing covered calls doesn't mean I have to do it with every share I own, right? Like right now, I own hundreds of shares of GLD in my 401k. I have one covered call out there for 410. And right now it's at 434. That's in the money. It's a little different game. We're going to get into that, though, because you're going to like the in the money stuff where the strike price is below what you bought it at. Which right now you think I'm smoking dope, but I'm not. Okay. And I get drug tested. So,
yes, you do.
All right. So, a few things we need to talk about, and we've talked about some of these. What kind of stocks are best for this? The volatile ones. Okay. And that goes against your nature, brother. Okay.
Yeah.
But understand, it's a tool in the toolbox. Okay. If the market's generally going down, like let's say it's, it's just going down like it did in all of 2023, right? Unless you're going to hold this stuff anyway, you're better off getting out of the way. Right?
I was gonna say, do you price the call then to excuse my language, to dump some of this stuff?
I have, yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I have, and I do. So let's say, well, here's an example. Give me a second here. I'm gonna just pull. We're using NVIDIA as the example here, guys. NVIDIA is currently at $219 a share. Okay. So let's just say it's 220 to make it easy for a quick example. So right now, NVIDIA is at 220. So let's say I go in and buy 100 shares of NVIDIA. It's going to be $22,000, right? Maybe I'm like, I don't really care about owning any more NVIDIA. But let's say between now and Friday, if I sell, it's at 220, maybe I sell off actually, I'm going to use the real number here. It's 219 a share right now. Maybe I sell the 220 for Friday. I'm going to get a lot of premium for that. Okay.
Really? Like what? Just throw a number, I guess.
Let me, you're going to have to give me a second here to do a little digging. And you can look up these option chain prices, guys. If you're using like a Fidelity or a Charles Schwab or wherever, it's in there. Or you can go to Yahoo Finance, and second from the bottom is options. And now we're going to look at the options prices. Let me see what today's the 11th, right? So the 15th. So let me see here. I gotta find. Here we go. All right. I haven't used. Okay, so right now NVIDIA is at we're going to use round number here, guys. Actually, 218.45 right now. Okay.
Okay.
If I sell the 220 call for Friday, actually no, sorry, let's do it for today. Rich, you're gonna get your gamble on. Okay.
Oh, no. Nope.
All right,
Wrong
come on,
guy.
embrace your inner will here. Okay. So
Okay, my inner will.
all right, here. Actually, you know what? Let me keep this. All right, why am I okay? Make sure I'm reading this right, so I don't give you guys. Okay, yep. All right, so all right, I'm back to Friday now. Okay, so it's 218 even right now, and you're going to sell the 220 for this coming Friday, 5 days from now, right?
Okay.
That just the last one of those went for 325 a share. Okay, so 325 a share divided by 218 even. That's a 1.5% return on the week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, multiplied by, I use 50 weeks when I do these annualized numbers, guys, because you lose about 2 weeks to holidays and stuff. Okay,
Sure.
so it's a more conservative number. That's 75% annualized, brother.
70%?
75% annualized.
Damn.
Okay,
Right.
and the worst case scenario, if it goes down a little bit, you own NVIDIA.
Yeah.
So this is one way to do this. Now, if it goes to 400 a share by Friday, you're going to sell it off and make $2 a share. But now bear in mind that number I just gave you was only the return on the options premium. But if you buy at 218 and sell at 220, you're going to make $2 a share off the price appreciation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to make 325 off the options premium. And divide that out. That's 2.4% on the week. That's not bad money.
Not too bad.
And the worst case scenario is you own NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Right? And if it starts going up more, so this is to your point of the laddering, if you will, of the dollar cost averaging. Let's say you want to own 400 shares of NVIDIA. So you buy 100 right now and do this. And tomorrow morning you buy 100 more. And if the price went down, well, you're going to keep your 325.
Right.
Now they got to wait till the end of the week, right? So this is one way. Again, there's a 1,000 ways to skin the cat. It's how much time do you want to put into it? I put a lot more time into it than you do because I enjoy the game.
Yes, you do.
Okay. So you could go in, you could make it you start playing around with this, you get comfy with it. You could go in and say, you know what, the big options expiration, the regular options expiration is the third Friday of every month. Okay. Mm-hmm. You could go in on the Monday after that and load up on covered calls for the next regular options expiration, the third Friday of the following month, and not touch it between now and then. I do mine weekly. I go in on Monday morning, I load these up for Friday, and then I do it again the following Monday. It lets me play the game within stuff that's moving more. Okay. Now, we've looked at these numbers. I used pretty conservative examples here, guys. There's some stuff out there where you can make 30-40% annually easily. Okay. Still using the exact same concept. You just got to find stuff that's more volatile, which means you have to be able to accept some downside risk there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends what you want to own. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about pitfalls because there's no panacea here, guys. Yep. Okay. If the stock goes down and you sell covered calls for lower than the original purchase price equals loss of capital. That was our example. We went from 66 to 61, and then you resold covered calls on those original shares at 63.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's something you have to watch out for. To Gerald's thing, taxes suck. There endeth the lesson. Okay.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. So now let's talk about how options in a regular brokerage account, if you do this inside of an IRA or a 401k, you're not going to be taxed because it happened inside a tax deferred account. Okay. If you do this in a regular taxable brokerage account, if you own, say, a stock for more than a year, then you get long-term capital gains tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if your options contract is longer than a year, which you can do, okay, it will always be taxed at short-term capital gains, which is the highest rate.
Okay.
Okay. But you can mitigate that like I've got here by using an IRA. The downside of the IRA, because there's nothing perfect, is if you do something really irresponsible inside that IRA, like put all your money in OCLO and it goes down, you can't reload with new money until the calendar year rolls and you can do your contribution. So the covered calls I do in my tax deferred accounts, my IRAs especially, are much more conservative because I can't reload with fresh money whenever I want, like a brokerage account. So the taxes are the cost of doing business in a brokerage account. So if you do that, you look at your short-term capital gains tax rate, it's based off your income. It's something you have to be aware of. Okay. So again, there's no panacea. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can use these as a tool in the toolbox, right? To get what you want out of the market. Okay. And there's something that I've really come to appreciate is once you get what you need out of the market, stop playing the game.
Here.
Right. So, and that's where I have to actually separate. I actually have separate accounts. I have a gambling account. And in there, all I do is buy the options, like in the examples from you. I gamble in that. I've got Blue Owl call options for next year. Okay. I think private credit, private equity is pretty oversold right now. I'm not saying it's a great thing I would want to own as a real investment, but I'll use it as a trade. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's one way. At the very end of all this, we're going to dig into some call options. If somebody wants to get their gamble on, I'll show you guys how I get my gamble on. Okay. And when it hits, man, it's good. You feel like king of the world. But I've also got some down that are down 98% right now and probably won't come back.
Damn.
That's part of the gamble. But it's not like I use 10% of my retirement savings to do it either.
Sure.
It's money set aside for gambling. And when it hits, boy, it sure is nice. I mean, my silver calls last year went up 9,700% before I sold them.
Whoa.
Yeah. It doesn't suck when that happens.
No.
So, all right. We're going to skip this one.
Okay.
Let's just go by that one because I want to do one more show with examples on laddered covered calls.
Okay.
If you're good with that. Next Monday, guys, I might be out. They're handing out overtime at work, and I got a car habit to support. So next Monday, I might be out. But whenever we do the next show, we're going to do another set of examples with laddered covered calls just to make sure everybody's conversing in this. Okay. And then we're going to go into in the money covered calls where you buy the OCLO for 66, Rich, but you sell me the option to buy it for 55.
Would I?
You would. And by the time this is over, I believe you will be.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, really. Because it's going to be, it's as close as you can get to having your cake and eating it too.
Ooh.
I think it's really going to appeal to you. It appeals to me. I use it all the time. Okay. So, all right. What's this one say for a little bit of motivation on the way out the door?
Stay obsessed with your own potential because your future self is begging you to go harder. Love it.
I don't care if that's Mr. Pincus on here teaching people to defend themselves financially, fitness, whatever it is.
I'm a big believer. This is one of my core tenets, man. Always take care of the future you. Mm-hmm. While Mike and I were at that Airbnb all last week, first thing I do, get up, make the bed. You know why? Because the future me wants to get into a made bed. Yep. The current me don't, oh man, I hate to do this. I ain't had coffee yet. I ain't gone to the bathroom yet, but I'm always taking care of the future me. And the future me is begging the current Rich to do what you just said. Love this quote.
Yep. I love this one. You know who Jimmy Carr is, the comedian?
Yeah. Hilarious.
He's hilarious. And somebody asked him a question. You know how he takes audience questions and puts them up on the big screen? And somebody asked him about kids or something. And he said, it's real easy. Prioritize tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
So many people are living for today. Whether it be retirement savings, working on your fitness, working on your ability to protect your family physically, right? Like we talked about. You're prioritizing tomorrow. You're prioritizing your future abilities to do those things. That's what we should all be doing.
Amen. That's a great place to leave
Because
it.
you know the fight is coming. Be ready.